unexamined life is not worth living is one of my favorite quotes by the Greek philosopher Socrates. All growth happens when we examine and review our lives regularly on what's working, what's not, what's adding value, what's not, what's improving, what's not. The most accomplished people spend a considerable amount of time just reflecting and reviewing their lives. There's no other exercise more powerful than this to accelerate your self growth. Hello and welcome to another episode of Goals Driven Life channel on one of my favorite topics, doing an annual review of the past year. And this is part one in the two-part series, and in the second part I'll be talking about how to plan your next year. Now, for the past 5 years or so, I have been doing my annual reviews of the past year and planning for the next year consistently in the month of December. This is the month I look inwards and get my affairs in order. I've also written elaborately on the topic before in many of my blog posts, and hence I thought I must create a YouTube episode since we are just 2 weeks away from the new year. Now, mankind is the only species that is most evolved to think, feel, and act accordingly in this world. By being just a little more deliberate on how we live every year makes our lives more meaningful and impactful and fulfilled. In many of my past videos, I have talked about prioritizing purpose and fulfillment over silent desperation for a worthy living. Without performing a thoughtful review of the year gone by, you run the risk of sleepwalking through life, not bringing any dramatic improvement and transformations to the quality of your life. Just letting pass one year after another, chasing your life, drowning in the noise without stopping and hearing your own voice is a recipe for an unfulfilled life. Here's another quote by the Harvard educator Howard Gardner. Howard said, "Extraordinary individuals stand out in the extent to which they reflect, often explicitly, on the events of their lives, large as well as small. By seizing the opportunity to leverage and frame these experiences, we gain agency over them." Sitting back, reflecting in a structured manner on the year passed by gives you clarity on the areas of life you did well and lived well, and the areas of life you could have done better. So here I am to give you a framework on how I conduct my annual reviews. I have experimented with various strategies, and this is something that I did last year, and I would also advise you to do the same. Keep experimenting and see what works for you and what not. So let's begin. For me, the annual review starts somewhere in the mid of December and it pretty much consumes the rest of the month. I block large chunks of time during this period, usually block off 2 hours at a stretch without distraction. So what do I do during these blocks of time? I simply answer a list of questions all alone. Now, there are many tools that propose a set of questions, but a fixed set of questions don't really work for me because I pick my own questions. I pick whichever is relevant to that phase of my life, and often every year I usually add some new questions, remove a few questions. So feel free to keep your set of questions flexible as well. So here are the list of questions that I ask for myself. Number one, what are you most thankful for in the last year? This is a great start to your questions because it starts with an attitude of gratitude. Number two, what did I accomplish this year? So force yourself to think about your achievements and the times when you were proud of yourself. Say you did something really well or you were able to solve a problem in your life. So make notes by reminding yourself of what all you were able to accomplish this year. Remember, writing your accomplishments is a great exercise for your soul and a great booster to end the year. Use the wheel of life to reflect upon all the dimensions of your life. Try to look at all the dimensions and write which areas of your life did you accomplish this year. Now, things get easier if you had already planned your year last December and have set your goals. So then it's easy because you can look at your goals that you had set and see whether you have been able to accomplish them or not. Number three, what were the biggest disappointments this year? This again is a great reflection point. So pick your pen and write them all down. Remember when you were disappointed and when you didn't do what you had hoped to do. Use the same wheel of life to see the dimensions of your disappointments. And as you write them down, learn from these disappointments. The very act of writing this down is quite cathartic. Number four, the biggest lessons I learned this year. Now, growth and learning are synonymous. Write down your biggest learnings this year. If you need help, go through the second question: what did I accomplish this year? And try to find out your learnings from those accomplishments. Ask yourself, what was the secret to your success? What worked? Why were you able to achieve what you did? Now take time to read over what you saw your disappointments and failures. What didn't work and why? What would have worked better and what's the lesson? Number five, what did I limit myself this year? This is one of my favorite questions because this helps you discover your limiting beliefs. And as you begin to answer this question, you may come up with all kinds of answers. So write them all down. Here are some of the answers that I have written myself in the past years. For example, I don't take time to think about what's really important to me. That could be a limiting a belief. Say I'm lazy. I don't often stand up for myself. Say I spend more money than I make. And the second step to this is write down what does these limiting beliefs cost you. Okay, so write down your true costs. Like some of the answers that people usually give is because of this limiting belief you have lost a lot of money, or say you have it costed you your relationships with people who matter to you. Say it had cost you your health or your happiness, your contentment. Number six, did I live my values this year? Now, for those of you who haven't watched my earlier video, I have a video where I talk about living your values. Do check it out to get the context right here. Question 7. What were the biggest risks I took this year? Question 8. What side projects did I start this year? Question 9. How many new empowering habits have I built this year? Question 10. What were the best books that I read this year? Question 11. What were the biggest surprises of this year? Question 12. The most important thing I did for others this year. Question 13. Who are the 3 people who influenced you the most? Question 14. What are the things you were most grateful about this year? Question 15. What were the most memorable, enjoyable moments this year? Make it vivid. How did you feel? Who was there with you? What were you doing? What kind of smells, sounds, or tastes do you remember? So this helps you relive those joyful moments that may have happened this year. Question 17. Forgiveness. Very important. Did anything happen during the past year that still needs to be forgiven? Deeds or words that made you feel bad? Or are you angry with somebody or maybe angry with yourself? Write it down here. Do good for yourself and forgive. There is no better soul cleanser than the act of forgiving. Next, how would you write what 3 words would define this year? Like for me, the 3 words are big dreams, initiative, and shaken. I have my own stories to define those 3 words. And if your past year would be written in the form of a book, how would you name that book? So that is also a favorite question. So I have my book for last year would be Big Hairy Audacious Goals. So try to answer these questions honestly for yourself, and then you would have done a great annual review. There's no rocket science there. I'm Trust me, it's a simple exercise, but it needs a lot of initiative and discipline. In the next video, I'm going to share about how to plan and set goals for the next year and make it the best year ever in your life. I hope you like this episode. If yes, please do subscribe. Thank you. Bye bye.